money to keep the household. Gender stereotypes that favor males over females are often reinforced in school textbooks and are sometimes encouraged by religious teachings. Okay. Southeast Asian Islam has traditionally been very tolerant, but over the last 20 years there has been greater stress on correct dress. You see, if you will see the Muslims, even in the Philippines, they always wear long dresses and then they have their punjab over their heads, because that's how their group or religion wants them to be. Okay? So although all Southeast Asian countries except Laos and Vietnam have signed the convention, this is the CEDAW, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and have made advances promoting gender equality, it is difficult to change the preference for sons, especially in Vietnam with its strong Confucian heritage. So in every family therein they prefer sons. And of course I know you know also that in China they prefer sons. Men make better political leaders. Do you agree? Do you agree? Yes, thank you. Yes, notable exceptions include views that men make better political leaders and that children suffer when their mother works. Between 2014 and 2022, the increase in perceptions that women are less capable than men of being political leaders was larger among the youth, okay, 8 percentage points, than among other individuals. In addition, views according to which children suffer when their mother works for pay have decreased faster among older individuals. You see, when I was also a young lawyer, I asked my husband, would it be better if I be the tutor for the children? Because they need tutors. Because we work from 8 o'clock in the morning up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and when I reach home, I will ask my children, have you done your assignments? Yes. May I check? No. You're not a teacher. You're not supposed to check them. It's okay. But they depend on tutors. And then I ask my husband, is it okay if I will not work and I will just teach the children? Because there is a study in the US that those who are taught by their parents, by their mothers, when they're in the elementary level, perform well or perform best in school. But my husband said, no, you're a lawyer, you have to exercise your profession. And I may not be able to sustain you if you will not work. So, okay. So, like, if we are working, yes, we can dress like this, going to the office, or we can also buy beautiful bags, because we earn. Okay. Lesser labor pay for women. This is a problem in Southeast Asia. Although women receive less pay than men for the same work, and the options for unskilled workers are limited, in poorer countries and impoverished regions, this is apparent in the prevalence of prostitution and the disturbing trafficking of women. Yes, especially trafficking nowadays is borderless. It's a borderless crime. So the Philippines, we have judicial knowledge exchange with Indonesia, with Thailand, with regard to trafficking. We had just, I was one of the delegates to Indonesia when we formed our protocol on how to deal with trafficked women and children in bringing them home and taking care of their psychological, physical, as well as financial needs before they can proceed with the prosecution of cases if they want to prosecute those perpetrators. Because we also conform with the do no harm principle of the United Nations with regard to dealing with the victims of this kind of crimes. If we can feel or we can see that we will do some harm on the private complainant, like for example, there will be re-victimization or re-traumatization, if they will be filing or testifying in court, then we do not force them to do so. Who do we call to testify against the perpetrators? We call the first responders, the social workers, the police officers who dealt with these victims of trafficking to testify in court. Okay? So, from the mid-1960s, however, as Southeast Asian countries gradually shifted to export-oriented economies, lower-paid women have become essential to factory work. In consequence, women have been more active in labor movement. So, just like in the Philippines, it's really unfortunate that some countries would define Filipinos as OFW, overseas contract workers. They go abroad to earn money for their family, and yet the family, the husband will look for another wife, or the children will just ask for more money just to buy some things which can be provided by the mother. Unfortunately, the children are almost, often than not raised by the mother as straight from the norm. Okay? So as overseas domestic workers, they have also been increasingly important to national economics, remitting large amounts of money to their families, and because of worldwide shortages, qualified women can find employment abroad in skilled occupations such as nursing. During the COVID pandemic, because my husband suffered from a critical stage of COVID, and he was hospitalized in the Philippine General Hospital. There was only one Filipino nurse for an 8-hour shift who will not drink, who will not eat, so that they will not change their, what do you call this? The one they will.
Yeah.
Yes. So that they will not change that, and they are in diapers, so that they will just urinate in their diapers and they will not go to the toilets. You see, where are our nurses? We produce so many nurses in the Philippines, but where are they? They are here. They're in the US, they're in Canada. Because, of course, they have to earn for their families. And if you're a nurse in the Philippines, you cannot even sustain yourself. Okay? So they go out. And that's discrimination also. And there's this policy of the Philippines now, wherein if you graduate here, if you graduate in the Philippines, you have to serve your country for 2 years before you will be given certification when you want to go abroad and work. Vocational skills and academic qualifications. As overseas domestic workers, they have also been increasingly important to national economics, remitting large amounts of money to their families. And because of worldwide shortages, qualified women can find employment abroad in skilled occupations such as nursing. But if there will be problems when it comes to our international relationship with other countries, then these Filipino workers will say, please lift the embargo so that we can go back to that country where we can earn our keeps. No? Because one Filipina died abroad and there was a foul play, and so the Philippines said, no, we'll stop. It was Duterte that stop sending Filipino workers to that country. It's the Filipinos who asked that that order be lifted because they cannot find work in the Philippines. But you see, if we look at this, why is it that it's the women who will go abroad and look and be a breadwinner for their families? Unfortunately, in the Philippines, we had this influence from the Chinese, the extended family. So we have to keep our parents, the parents of our spouses, and sometimes the siblings, my siblings or the siblings of my spouse. That's how they do it. The expanded family. And it's a Chinese influence. Okay, thank you. Despite the region's economic, political, and cultural diversity, Southeast Asian countries generally fare well in measures of human development. The heritage of relatively favorable gender relations and the resilience and pragmatism of local societies indicate that Southeast Asian women can look towards a promising future. Yes, with the help of, you see, we can conduct all this exchange of knowledge with other countries, with the support of the ASEAN Act, the Australian Counter-Trafficking. By other agencies, they support our studies when we go abroad, but not our government, because we do not have that fund. I hope Netherlands will extend also its fund to other Southeast Asian countries so that we can eradicate, if not totally, we can eradicate little by little this, what we call gender stereotyping in Southeast Asia. On children, it's heartbreaking, this is according to Chen Daniels. It's heartbreaking how some children don't think of themselves as abused until after they have been rescued. They believe they are just helping the family. See, most often it's the girl children, not the girls. The girls, they already work for the family. And sometimes it's the parents who will just undress them in front of a laptop or a computer, and they will say, we have cases like that in the Philippines, and they will say, anyway, that foreigner will not touch you. He will just look at you. Just follow what he says, and then we will receive $100 for today. You see, it's the parents. And the children, the girls, do not know that they are being abused. What they think is that they're helping their families. And if a case will be filed against their parents, they will not prosecute them. Of course, because this is also of what we call solidarity within family, that the children have to follow the instruction of the parents. Deeply rooted in traditional gender roles, cast long shadows on the path towards gender equality and women's empowerment. As most of the region's societies follow patriarchal power structures, existing gender norms, including norms of masculinities, tend to restrict women's rights and opportunities. So, if you were an employer in Southeast Asia, here comes a male and a female of the same qualification, and if you will test them on the merits, they will get the same score. Who will you employ? Is it the male, or is it the female who will become pregnant if he or if she is married? And if she becomes pregnant, then you will pay her 105 days maternity leave. So these are gender inequalities. Of course, if you were a private corporation, you will look for, or you will employ the male, just because women will get pregnant. And these are gender inequalities which is to be eradicated in Southeast Asia. with your help, of course. Now, problem. When men sense a threat to their masculinity or dominance, let's say these men have also their feeling of self-centeredness, that if they are not employed and they are not earning financially, they will say, I have to dominate this wife of mine. The wife works, the wife feeds him, the wife cooks for him, and what does he do in order to assert his masculinity? Have sex with the wife, who is already, what do you call this, very, very tired of working for the family and tending to the children, and the man will have sex, and the man will beat the wife if the wife will not agree. So these are the problems with regard to masculinities. Under such circumstances, women can face heightened risks of experiencing gender-based violence. Some men may resort to violence to reestablish their dominant role within the family. Just to reestablish their dominant role. He will say, I am still the man of the family. And he may beat the wife, and even in front of the children. You know our law, RA 9262, if this kind of treatments will be done in front of the children, we impose higher penalty. Because the children will be traumatized by such actions. Crisis provide an opportunity. This is very good. I always tell my staff, oh, we have a problem. Oh, you call it a problem, it's okay. If it's called a problem, it has a solution. No? If it's a problem, it has a solution. No, the problem in Southeast Asia is gender stereotyping. So, this provides an opportunity for us all to have to research, to be an advocate, to help one of the countries in Southeast Asia eradicate gender stereotyping. So, if crisis provide an opportunity, they can allow policymakers to design and implement policies and response mechanisms that are gender transformative, integrate both women's and men's needs and concerns, and promote lasting changes. Policy recommendations, we can do this, we can do this. And investing in the education of boys and girls and shaping the social views of future generations are essential, starting from early childhood. Now for the students, you can go out of your way. You can go, are there small municipalities here in Holland or Netherlands or The Hague? No. Your own reach. Here, you see in the Philippines, we allow our students, College of Law students, to reach out to some communities to give free legal advice. Sometimes those who are private practitioners, we have to require them to bring with them their notary seal, so that if persons in far-flung communities where we reach out need some affidavit of laws or they need some affidavits to prepare, we just prepare it for free for them. We reach out for these far-flung communities or barangays, and it's a part of our school project in the College of Law. And sometimes we put up tables and tell the barangay captains you have to bring or inform all your constituents that we are here to give some legal advice or to help them, tell them what to do with regard to their legal problems. And we do that. We reach you. So the law students will be the one to interview, and we have a table among the professors, instructors. Okay. If it's a civil case, you give it to professor. If it's a criminal case, you give it to professor, so and so. If it's a land case, you give this to professor. But it's the students, college students, who will interview and who will determine what the problem is. Is it criminal, is it civil, or is it non-lesbian? So we are helping the community, and you can do that also with those who are battered wives or children. No? The problem with battered wives when they, as I have stated earlier, is that when they file a case, then they will be the one to come and say, I'm now desisting from the case I filed because nobody will free us. And then here comes another anti-violence against women and children case filed in and was referred to my sala. The wife was running and asking, please, please, I will be bailing out my husband. What? Where did you get the money to bail him out? She asked for a loan. 20% interest. We call it in the Philippines 5-6. She asked for a loan just to bail out the husband. You see, that's the what's the core problem there. One is dependence of women to their partners. Another one is lack of education. So much so that if their spouse or their partner is already incarcerated, they do not know where to go. Why? Because they did not improve themselves anymore. When they marry or when they live with their partners, no more self-advancement for them. Because they have to stay at home and become homemakers and be dependent totally to their spouses or their partners. Now, as students of law, you can start. You can start writing, or you can start advising, if that is allowed in your school. We allow our students to do that, but they have to know what they have to tell these people. Okay. Educate and communicate effectively on the benefits of gender equality. In Malaysia, the Ministry of Health has developed guidelines and policies to enhance adolescents' sexual and reproductive health. This is what is lacking in the Philippines. When the reproductive health law was passed, there was so much opposition coming from the church. So some of the provisions were nullified, one of which is the after morning pill. Whenever a woman is raped, or whenever a woman had sexual intercourse with a husband against her consent, the law does not allow them to take the after morning pill. So there, they may become pregnant. Rape victims may become pregnant. They will bear a child who is sired by the rapist. And yet, our law does not allow them to take this after morning pill. And it's gender stereotyping and inequality also. In the Philippines, the In Fairness campaign has engagement as advocates for women's economic empowerment. This is the best way. We have to engage the men, to respect women's rights, to respect gender equality. You see, we have a Safe Spaces Act law. It's quite a baby law, Safe Spaces Act, especially for LGBTQ, but it's also it's for everyone, so that you will have, you will be safe in public places, you will be safe within your office, you will be safe even within your homes. Catcalling or whistling, these are now prohibited under the law. So if a lady who's beautiful passes by, you cannot whistle. Even if you're a woman, you cannot whistle. You just appreciate the beauty. Do not whistle, or do not catcall them if they belong to the third sex. And we have a law on that. Factors that affect gender equality. Number one is poverty. But you see, if we look at it deeply, what's the cause of poverty? Because poverty is caused by lack of education. Population growth, changing value and values of children, breakdown of family ties, impact of modernization, pornography and drugs, migration, globalization, and expansion of transnational crimes. Because we have now a borderless society because of advanced technology. Now, may I look, I'll bring you to this breakdown of family ties. In the Philippines, we do not have divorce yet. So in the entire world, only the Vatican and the Philippines, no, which do not have divorce law. But we have under Article 36 of our family code psychological incapacity. If you will be able to prove that your spouse is psychologically incapacitated to perform the essential marital obligations of marriage, then you can have your marriage nullified. So it's a breakdown of family ties. And who will be the victims? The children. Collaborate closely with civil society organizations and leaders on targeted interventions. Now engage with men and boys. With men and boys. So little children, we have to start them respecting women or knowing what gender equality is. Sometimes men, little boys would say, I don't like dolls. Dolls are for girls. I like guns. Guns are for boys. I don't like to wear pink because pink color is for girls. And I like blue colors, it's for boys. So, little as they are, they don't know how to become, no? They will grow up to become gender insensitive. So we have to start with the little boys. Civil society organizations, together with policymakers and development partners, should create safe spaces for boys and men where they can learn about gender equality and can discuss gender roles and responsibilities without fear of judgment. When I was in the elementary, we have this home economics subject. Only girls will are part of this home economics. We were taught how to sew, we were taught how to cook, we were taught how to prepare the dining table, while the boys will have their horticulture. They were taught how to grow some vegetables. But when my children are in the elementary, I found out that the boys were taught how to sew, how to cook. So there is now gender equality in the elementary schools in the Philippines. Collaborate closely with civil society organizations and leaders on targeted interventions. Engage with men and boys. Engage with men and boys. In Malaysia, the Society for Equality, Respect and Trust for All works to dismantle long-held socially constructed gender roles and promote gender equality by engaging men and boys in partnership with women. It focuses on changing harmful gender norms and unequal power dynamics in the family by advocating equal parenting, for example, through the Celebrating Fatherhood campaign. Now, in the Philippines, we have this Magna Carta for women. In this Magna Carta for women, and if the female or the wife is under maternity leave for 105 days, then the husband, the father of the child, will also have paternity leave for 7 days after the maternity leave of the mother. Then the father has to also file a paternity leave for 7 days. Now, and we have a new law, an administrative adoption law, where in said law, it's a very new law. It was in 2022, and the IRR was just last year. Under such act, the adopting parent, if they adopt a baby, they can also have maternity leave. And the husband can also have paternity leave. And under our administrative adoption act, it's now mandatory that this child was adopted before reaching the age of 13 years of age must know that he or she was adopted. So that if he or she would like to look for the biological parents, the adopting parents may also help the adopted child to do so. Collaborate closely with civil society organizations and leaders on targeted interventions, engage with men and boys. So we do not only learn as women, or you do not only teach your girl children, no, how to become strong. We also teach and focus also with regard to men and boys for them to practice gender equality. Collaborate closely with civil society organizations and leaders on targeted intervention. Engage with men and boys. Okay, you can read all those. Invest in data and measure social norms over time. You see, these children here, this is students. They have all their gadgets. They still go out and play. They still run. Do you climb up a tree? No more. That's what we do when we were children, because we do not have all these gadgets. Now, if I recall my youngest, my son, he said, "Son, we have to eat now." I have to text him, send him a message, because he is in his room. He doesn't go out, especially if he does not have this time for his table tennis or gym. He's in his room, playing with the gadgets. But now he has a cafe where he spends time and earn his keys also. But still, we have to send them messages to call them for, do you still eat at home together with your parents? No. You go home, but you eat outside. And you will just tell your parents, "Mom, I'm home," and then you go back directly to your room. Because here, if you spend so much time in your in front of your gadgets, make sure that the children in your family home, or even you have to know what to do. Can you help the Southeast Asian countries formulate policies for gender equality? You can do that with the use of your, just invest in data and measure social norms over time. Okay, we have all this data, but we look at Article 5A of the CEDAW, which provides that the states party shall take all appropriate measures, first, to modify the social and cultural patterns. This will take a long time. And each of you must have an advocacy. No? We must advocate for this. Cultural patterns of conduct of men and women with a view to achieving the elimination of prejudices and customary and all other practices which are based on the idea of the inferiority or the superiority of either of the sexes, or on stereotyped roles for men and women. Thus, all signatory parties have to comply. But in Southeast Asia, all ASEAN member countries, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, have separately ratified CEDAW. With more empowered women in all these countries, there is hope for the elimination of gender stereotypes. Now, unless we have empowered women for every sector, we cannot have gender equality. So each of us or some of us must advocate for this. Promoting women's access to justice. This is now, I was part of the 10 Philippine delegates in 2016 who were sent to Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand, and we formulated protocol in using gender equality even with our decisions. And we now have that protocol. Recognizing that the elimination of gender stereotypes in justice delivery is a critical component of promoting women's access to justice. This reference targets justice actors. So lawyers are part of this. Promoting access to justice requires that laws must be free of gender stereotypes. We have some gender stereotypes still in our civil code, in our family code. In the family code, they now amend the portion wherein if there is dispute with regard to where the family home shall be put up, it should be the husband's decision which must prevail. And if the wife will question the husband's decision, the wife shall go to court and question the decision of the husband. But once a wife goes to court and questions the husband's decision, then there will be a breakdown in the family ties already. So, and that was already amended. So, even the choice of family home is a 50-50 decision between the husband and wife. And we also have this style form, which was done by the Supreme Court, style form wherein we better use he/she or they, or we better use person, this person, not he, unless the person is named in the decision itself. Okay? Confidentiality here in the Philippines. We protect our women. We have these confidentiality clauses in several laws. The identity of the victim or any information which could establish or compromise her identity as well as those of her immediate family or household members should be withheld pursuant to these laws. We have Republic Act 7610, we have Republic Act numbers 692-62, Section 40 of AM number 04, and Section 7 of RA 9208. RA 9208 is the trafficking in persons, which is further amended. Now may I just focus on number 1, please? Republic Act number 7610. This was promulgated in 1991 when there was a case between an Austrian accused, Witter. People, we have Republic of the Philippines versus Witter, an Austrian citizen who went to the Philippines and had molested some children in a red district portion somewhere in Angeles, where he faced them 50 or 60 pesos or 100 pesos, and there's this little girl. In the decision, she was still named because it was in 1990 or 1989 when this decision was passed. So the girl was named as Rosario. And a portion of this toy pennies used by the Austrian was left inside the vagina of the little girl, which caused some infection and then eventually sepsis, and she died. She was, the Austrian was convicted in the regional trial court, but when he appealed and the case reached the Supreme Court said, we do not have laws with regard to pedophiles. So he was acquitted by the Supreme Court and was deported. But what happens to the family? Anyway, the child was just 13 years old, and it was not proved that she was just 13 years old. and it was only the grandmother who pursued the case, but she was not able to also prove the relationship of. So damages, little damages were awarded, but the thing is, the Supreme Court stated in their decision that the Senate, our legislative body, has to formulate a law against pedophiles. And here comes now the birth of RA 7610, an act providing for stronger deterrence and special protection against child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination, providing penalties for its violation and for other purposes. And that's how we protect our women as well as women children in our country against pedophiles. The Philippines has a comprehensive legal framework designed to protect women and children from abuse, exploitation, and neglect. And these are the, because we follow the international laws wherein the Philippines is a signatory and is a member. And if you are a member or signatory of an international law, your municipal laws or your local laws must conform with the international standards. So we have to follow. Gender-sensitive approach. We have gender-sensitive approach also, and our judges, court personnel, and other lawyers holding cases for children or women are trained by the Philippine Judicial Academy of the Supreme Court of the Philippines, the educational arm of the Philippines, to handle children, to handle the cases of women properly. And we have this gender-sensitive approach. What is gender-sensitive approach? It's a gender-sensitive approach takes into account the gender-specific needs of all persons according to the type of harm and exploitation to which they were subjected. So this is a case-to-case basis. So you do not just think within a box if you deal with women, if you deal with children. One time I had this mother who came to court asking for a protection order. Okay, why? Because my husband is beating me up, he's beating my children. Okay, we'll give you a temporary protection order for 30 days, and then within the 30-day period, we have to call your husband, explain why, and find out whether your statements will stand in court. And then a permanent protection order was given to her. Okay, you have to, I called the sheriff and together with police officers, you have to remove the husband from the family home. And the husband will say, the husband said, oh, this is my house. Why do you have to remove me from here? Because your wife and children lives in that house and they have protection order. You have to remove from you have to be removed from the house. So we do that in the Philippines. We remove the men from their family homes if they are causing harm to the women and the children. So, gender-sensitive approach helps us design and implement responses and interventions that are tailored to their needs. It increases our capacity to address gender biases, identify non-ideal victim profiles, promote the engagement of men and boys in tackling stereotypes of masculinity and femininity, and address the root causes of violence against women and children. Informed consent. This is now, we have this informed consent when we deal with trafficking victims, when we deal with 7610 victims. Why? Because sometimes there are challenges wherein we cannot get the testimonies of the private complainants or the victims. Why? Because they are not informed. if this testimony will be given, they will ask, will I still appear in court? And if you will not explain to them the situation in the courtroom, they will not talk. Why is it that everybody is talking in English and cannot understand? Why is it that the men here are dressed in maroons or in suits? They do not understand why they are in that situation. So we give them, we have to tell them, if these are children, we have court's day, child's court's day. So before they testify, we bring them to court. And this is the judge. She will not wear her robe because some children will say, oh, she's a Dracula if we wear a robe. No? So we remove a robe when we deal with children. If it's women, we are now advocating that they will not be called, if they are accused, they will not be called accused, but they will be called WICN, women in conflict with the law. But we are still in the process of doing that because we will have new rules now. Now, informed consent refers to a person's decision given voluntarily to agree to an interview, treatment, procedure, assistance, or other intervention that is made. Clear and understandable information about the risks and benefits of the proposed interventions, as well as the choice available, must be provided to the victim or person to allow them to make the right decision. An interpreter should be provided to ensure that the person understands the information that is being communicated. So we ask them, are you going to file a case against your father or against your mother who caused this victimization on your part? Then you have to also explain the consequences. If you will be filing a case against them, they might be incarcerated if they cannot bring up, or in the case you will be filing according to the prosecutor will be a no-bail crime, then your father or mother will stay in jail. Then you have to inform them. And if you will testify, your testimony will be used against your father or mother, and if they will give their consent, then we do it. And then if we say, if you look at the child, the woman or the child victim will be assessed by our social workers if they need psychological or psychiatric tests. And we also inform them, you need a psychological test according to the social worker. Do you agree? What will be the consequences? Well, that will be used also in order to assess your mental health. So we have to know, we have to give them this. Everything should be explained. This is what we call informed consent. The victim-centered approach, be it an adult or a child, a woman or a boy. Some boys are also victims of gender inequality, but they do not admit it. A judge who is who is a part of our comprehensive enhancement training for judges. We train them and we facilitate small workshops, small group discussions. He is one of the facilitators, and I asked him, oh, Judge Philip, you see, we have cases with regard to men who are also victims of gender inequality, but there's not so many data with regard to those gender inequalities. Why is it? Why is that so? And he answered, because we are men. We do not report some gender inequalities because we are men. So that's masculinity. Okay? There is no one singular definition, but UNHR has defined it as, in the context of sexual exploitation and abuse and sexual harassment, a victim-centered approach is a way of engaging with victims that prioritizes listening to the victims, avoids re-traumatization, and systematically focuses on their safety rights, well-being, express needs, and choices. They were giving back as much control to victims as feasible and ensuring their empathetic and sensitive delivery of services and accompaniment in a non-judgmental manner. You see, when the victims will come to court and they're wearing short skirts or wearing short sleeves, we do not look at them as such. Oh, that's why you were raped. That's stereotyping. You were the one who is at fault here. Why do you have to wear all those kinds of clothes? You were raped. So, this must be prevented or avoided so that this victim will come to court and prosecute the perpetrator. Now, with regard to a victim-centered approach, it's a case-to-case basis. Sometimes these victims will not narrate what happened to them. They will just say yes, especially if they are already done. Why do you ask me that? The police officers asked me that, the social worker asked me that, and there is already re-traumatization or re-victimization on the part of women. And in the Philippines, we have women's test. If the victim is a woman, even if she's already a senior citizen or an old woman, they have to be brought to the women's test. And who are those who are in charge of the women's test? Women police officers also. Women social workers. Why? One time I had this victim child, private complainant, who was brought by the social worker to court to testify. When the interpreter, who is a female, is a male, my interpreter in court is a male, started talking, this child victim, who is 13 years old but with a mental age of 7 years old, kept on smiling. And she kept on answering yes. I called the social worker, ma'am, is she really English speaking? Because she does not wait for the interpreter to interpret it in Tagalog, our local dialect. She does not know English, ma'am. But then I realized, no, we have to remove the male interpreter. Okay. All male, female in the courtroom, it's okay. We were able to facilitate the testimony. But when the process server entered the courtroom in order to give or attach to the record the returns of one of the subpoena which he served, this child again smiled and answered yes, yes. And I said, is this the effect of being molested by a man at 13 years old, teenager? Is this the biological response of a 13-year-old body to what was done to her? So we were able to finish the testimony, but I forbade the men to enter the courtroom. Do not let men, staff enter the courtroom while this victim is still testifying. And we were able to get the testimony. Valley process defines victim-centered approach, taking into account the individual needs of the victims and tailoring the protection responses accordingly. It should be based on the fundamental principles of safety, confidentiality, and non-discrimination. It should also be applied irrespective of whether the victim participates in the criminal justice process. So we have this do no harm principle. If the victim does not like to appear in court, we do not force them. We do not say, no, you cannot choose not to prosecute this case. You have to appear in court. No, we do not say that. We respect their wishes and we just prosecute. The prosecutor will just present the first responders. It's a do no harm principle under the United Nations. Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask you, you still have like a few minutes, and I would like to open the floor to questions. Should I start? Very short question. I was curious because you said, oh yes, in the room there are many women students.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, how is it in the Philippines? Because we see us that the majority of our students are female in law school. So I don't know if you see a similar trend. Is law school more gender balanced in the Philippines, or?
Yes, I've been teaching in law school since 2002. Before, it's more on male, male. Lawyers are males, or males become lawyers. But nowadays, it's more on balance, gender balance. Many women wanted to become lawyers also, and they excel. Yes, ma'am?
Yes. I have another question about rape during marriage. Is it still considered rape in the Philippines, or?
Yes, thank you for that question. We have a new rape law. It's not actually a new rape law because it was in 2004, Republic Act 8353, wherein rape is no longer considered as a private crime but a public crime. Anybody can file. The police officers can file as long as the victim reports the same. And we have one particular decision, I'm sorry, I was not able to incorporate it, that spouses, the husbands, if they force their wives to have sexual intercourse, can be charged with rape under Article Republic Act 8353. So you tell your husbands if you are married that if you do not want to have sex on that particular night, just tell them. Communication is the key. Yes.
I have another question. You were saying about the morning after pill that when you're a victim of rape, then you're not allowed to take it in one of the countries. I don't remember. But is it normally still allowed to take the morning after pill there, or is it just like, is it just in general prohibited, or is it just in that case if it's rape then they're not allowed? Or?
That particular provision did not become a law. Actually, did not become a part of our health law because it was voided by the Supreme Court the morning after pill, because they believe that once there's sperm meets with the egg cells, there is already life there, and abortion is not legal in the Philippines, unlike in other Southeast Asian countries. Vietnam is very open in abortion. And Malaysia, I think. Yeah.
Charlotte.
Yes, we have
Yes.
time. I still have some slides with regard to protection of children. We still have
Yeah,
time.
we do not have time,
Okay.
but
Just
one last question, yes.
I have one last question about the change of gender in the ID, for example. Is that possible in the Philippines? For example, if you're, let's say, transgender, then it's possible to change your ID?
Oh, unfortunately, we don't have a law that allows a transgender to change his name in the Philippines. There was this Kagandahan case, but it's still in the, it was denied by the Supreme Court. Now, we cannot change your name just because you have changed your sex organ. So it was denied by the Supreme Court, but this Kagandahan, supported by General State University, law students went to the Senate and lobbied for it, but still no law with regard to that. But there are some. We have a politician in Bataan who is a transgender, but who carries a female name because she had it changed somewhere here in Europe.
Sorry, can I have a last question?
Okay, you won the last question.
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry,
okay.
so thank you, Judge Ferrando, for the very insightful and thought-provoking presentation first.
Thank you for
And,
this opportunity.
I would like to state that it seems very obvious from a legal perspective that everyone should exercise and enjoy the same rights equally when it comes to a person. But I would like to ask, because it's a very frequently made criticism on the pursuit of the abolishment of gender discrimination, that isn't it possible that it leads to quotas when it comes to corporate employment, and professionalism gets to the background when it comes to a decision because of such quotas and directions?
Well, when we practice gender equality, men are also included. Just like in the Philippines, I'll just give you an example. Family court judges, no? Some family court judges would say, it should be a woman who will be in family court judge so that she can deal with the children, with the victims, but still male applicants were appointed as family court judges because we practice gender equality. We believe that what women can do as a judge in family court can also be done by men in family court. And your question is with regard to whether there will be later on inequality.
Yeah, if there's a disproportionate corporate graph when it comes to gender, and for example, it would be justified to employ a man or a woman in a certain case, but professionalism says otherwise. The expertise of the person says otherwise.
Now, if it's a private entity, then they have the right to choose their employees. But our government in the Philippines also educate their, all these corporations, they also invite some lecturers for gender equality in order to not discriminate. But what my point here is, if there is equal, if you will gauge them on the merits and everything is equal, who will you choose? The one who can go up faster than the woman, than the other, or the one who will have maternity leave? It's the choice of the corporation. But we do not tell them to just balance between male and female. Of course, they can choose who can help their corporation progress. But the thing is, in the judiciary in the Philippines, we are almost